Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of Between Plays. And today we're going to be doing on NIO. I'm not comparing NIO to any other vehicle in the industry. Um, I'm just going to look at this. It's so touchy, right? Because you got like the Tesla lovers, the NIO lovers. You got BYD buyers and stuff. So it's just to be clear, there's no comparisons. This is just solely focused on this company. All right. So that being said, let's look at the NIO ES6. Fast and further. It's a beautiful vehicle. Absolutely beautiful vehicle. An extra long range of 610 kilometers. That's really that's excellent. That's like basically one charge gets you Toronto to Montreal. That's excellent, and they with their battery swap system. I mean, you could stop off before somewhere. Let's just say if they had that swapping technology here, you would basically stop and just have the battery swapped and have a full range right away, which is really excellent technology. I really love the swapping stations. Honestly, it's very, very cool. Let's take a look at this car, fast and further. The interior is just excellent. All right, beautiful interior. Sophisticated and high-tech mobile living space. Imagine that, mobile living space. Intelligent digital cockpit, integrated sports seats, microfiber headliner, NOMI powered by our high-performance system, cloud computing platform, voice interaction technology, NIO Pilot. Then you have the power stations. Then you can have vehicles come and charge up your car wherever you're at. And naturally, you have swapping stations. The swapping stations alone are pretty cool. So if we go here, I was watching a whole video on it, and I have to admit, it's quite impressive. Battery as a service. So, let's look at this. It's from NIO, right? This is the battery swapping stations. Very nice. It's actually a very small compact place. Check this out. This person in the video, he's driving from Sushu to, I don't remember if he's...
Hi, I'm Frank from Germany. I came to China in 2011. I'm a chief of technology here. 2019 February, I bought this new ES8, and I'm the first German owner probably. Now I'm going to go to Beijing,
from Sushu to Beijing, right? So look at this. He swapped batteries 3 times, and the third time was only because he wanted to make sure that where he was, that he would have, range to do whatever he wanted to do. But when you see these guys swapping, it's very, very, very quick and efficient. It's excellent, excellent. So that being said, let's go and look at, the company itself. So the 3 vehicles that I was looking at, the EC6, the ES8, and the ES6, they're all very, very nice, very, very, very nice vehicles. Okay. Then you got the ES8, which is also a very nice vehicle within itself. Like, look at that. Seriously, somebody's going to offer me a NIO, I'm never going to say no. That's for sure. It's a beautiful vehicle. Okay, guys, so let's go to, I got different things here. Okay, let's go into this here. We'll use this. So I know from just the research I was doing since yesterday that the price range at the moment is within the fair value. All right, so the stock is within its fair value. Revenue is forecast to grow 36.96%. Then after that, we have, let's look at market performance. 7-day return, 18.9%. Over the U.S. auto industry of 8.5% and the U.S. market 3.9%. 1-year return of 1,193%. Over the U.S. market of 210 and the U.S. market U.S. auto 210, and U.S. market 18.5%. So return versus industry. NIO exceeded U.S. auto industry, which returned 195.6% over the past year. Excellent. Return versus market. NIO exceeded the U.S. market, which returned 17.2% over the past year. So excellent. It's within its fair value. So this is great. Earnings and revenue forecast grow 63.3%. According to the analyst checks, we got 3 green and we got 3 red, just because it's going to take a bit of time for it to really see massive growth. So you're looking at 2024, like it's like the earnings is positive and the revenue is just shooting through the roof. Forecasted to be within the 81 billion of revenue and earnings of nearly 3 billion. All right. So that's excellent. If I look at the free cash flow, that'll also be extremely positive on its own at 5.5 billion technically. So this was last updated September 8th of 2020. Okay. So according to this was last updated, so September 8th, 2020. So the growth forecasts, all right, for the future, this company, NIO, is looking at 65.3%, the company, the industry 42%, almost 43%, so we're rounding it out, and the market 22%. The company for annual revenue growth, that was for earnings. For revenue annual growth, 37%, industry 25%, market 9%. About 10%, okay, for the market. Revenue versus market. NIO's revenue, 37% per year, is forecast to grow faster in the U.S. market at 9.9%. High growth revenues, NIO's revenue at 37% per year is forecast to grow faster than 20% per year. Now, earnings versus savings rate. NIO is forecast to remain unprofitable over the next 3 years. Earnings versus market. NIO is forecast to remain unprofitable over the next 3 years. And high growth earnings, NIO is forecast. But that's what I'm saying. So when you look at 2024, that's when everything changes. That's when everything really changes. So that's fine, because you don't buy an infant, like, don't buy something in a small, like when something's starting out, the EV industry is like very, very, it's like it's in its birth, right? So, and I was looking at, there's an emissions data on the auto industry, and when gas vehicles are supposed to be like wiped out, all right, and it's supposed to be all EV, that there's a transition happening here. This is not just the public speaking. Governments are on board. There is actual documentation, which I'll have to go and find again, a report that by 2050, we should not see gas vehicles anymore. That's not a long time from now. To the young generation, it almost seems like a long time. But think about it. We're 2020. By 2030, we're already going to see a massive difference. And that's just like in 9 years, let's just say. So you're looking at less than 30 years from now that we're supposed to be gas vehicles gone. So when you look at the cruise line industry, same thing is happening there. There is a new era dawning, and the public is being awakened to this because of COVID. Because people are watching the internet, they're seeing where things are going. They've seen animals returning to the cities, or like to the to the rivers. So there's changes that are occurring. So definitely NIO is a part of the future. So short-term liabilities, NIO's short-term assets exceeds its short-term liabilities. Short-term assets is 15.1 billion, exceeds its short-term liability of 13 billion. Long-term liabilities. So NIO's short-term assets, 15 billion, exceeds its long-term liabilities of 9.6 billion. When you look at its debt to equity history and analysis, you're looking at debt. It does have a high debt, though. We're looking at 11.56 billion. Equity of 522 million, and cash and equivalents of 10.76 billion. And we know that the People's Republic of China came in March and said that we will not allow this company to fall. And that was it. And then gave them bula. So, yeah, lots of that. So, anyways, let's look at stable cash runway. NIO has sufficient cash runway for more than a year based on its current ratios. All right. Let's look at institutional buyers. And let's look at, not institutional, but ownership breakdown. So public companies is 10%. Individual insiders is 11%, well, closer to 12. Institutions is about 30.5%. General public, about 48%. Who are some of the people holding in the institutional buyers? All right, top shareholders. So 25 top is basically Tencent Holdings. We all know them, right? BlackRock, the Vanguard Group, Bailey Gifford. We have Goldman Sachs. I'm naming some of the bigger ones, right? Morgan Stanley. I know Bank of Canada is in there too, not in the top 25, but I know that they're in there. JP Morgan, Northern Trust. If I go to this, I found interesting. I went to a different one here, and I really, really liked what I saw. I found that was very, very, very interesting. Here we go. I just got to wait for it to, I got to pull this one out. And because I went really far back. And on August the 12th, 2020, Bridgewater Associates, right? Ray Dalio. All right. So we got the Teacher Retirement System of Texas, Scotia Capital, Crane Funds, Hightower Advisors. Listen, you got some Cambridge, CIBC. Look, you got some really big names inside here. All right. Now let's go and look at the financials. For that, I'll go somewhere else. All right. So it's currently trading at 21.30 according to what I'm seeing here. So financials. Total, the trailing 12 month, okay, total revenue was $7.5 billion. The cost of revenue was $8.7 billion. So of course it has a negative gross profit of $1.1 billion negative. The net income trailing 12 month is negative 10 billion. But because it is a new company, right? It's fairly new. The EV industry is picking up now as we speak. I mean, the last 10 years has been very difficult, all right, for companies. But this is not what's happening at the moment. There's a big trend and it's changing. So total revenue last year, year ending, was 7.8 billion. Cost of revenue was 9 billion, and it was a negative average, let's say 1.2 billion. Net income last year was negative 11 billion. Like I said, it's a brand new company. You got, and they're backed up by the People's Republic of China, so there's no worries here, right? So let's look at cash flow. So their cash flow end of period is $989 million. All right. They basically have free cash flow of negative 10 million, but the cash at the end of period is $989 million. And the cash at the beginning of the period was $3 billion. So there's, of course, money going into different areas. Let's just take a good look here. Other working capital right here for 2019, you had negative $10 billion. Inventory of 569 million. Accounts payable of 116 million. Investments in property, plant, and equipment was I'm averaging about $2 billion. You have purchases of investments of 2.2 billion. Net cash used for investing was about $3.5 billion. So that's a, for investing purposes, this is all right. So let's go to the balance sheet. The balance sheet. What we got here is, I'm going to go look at just really quick at the retained earnings, because we already looked at the future growth of the company. We looked at that their assets, their short-term assets was in the green because it exceeded their short-term liabilities and exceeded their long-term liabilities. So I'm just curious about the retained earnings at the moment, which is a negative $46 billion. All right. Which is reflected also when you go to Yahoo Finance. If you look at their just a quick graphs where you see the green and the so if you go and look at 2016, it was like zero revenue here, and you had negative 3.5 billion in the negative. Then 2017 has no revenue indicated, and you have $7.5 negative billion. So then here, where it starts getting a little interesting, is 2018, basically about 5 billion in revenue and negative 23 billion in earnings. So that was a huge shot down. You have a bit of revenue. 2019, I find it gets really interesting because in the revenue you have, let's say, 8 billion, okay? And your earnings is negative 11 billion. They're sort of instead of being down, and then 2018 where it's really down, you basically get a little bit of a spike up in 2018, massive down, and then you're it's pretty much just, so you see something's happening. There's a change going on, right? Money's coming in, cars are going out. All right, so let's take a look. What else do we got here? Their Q1 of, and this is reflected in what I said earlier, right? The massive growth that they had in the last year. I mean, look, their Q1 2020 earning, I mean, they beat it, all right? And their Q2, they also beat that. So let's just see what happens in their Q3. I'm very, very curious, which is supposed to be for January. So look, naturally, you're in a company that's got a lot of institutional investors with big names. You have a beautiful vehicle, all right? Hands down, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's just gorgeous. Technology, and the swapping stations are just excellent. I mean, I just love those swapping stations. I mean, it's just, you go in there, you get a full charge battery in and out. That is excellent. That's very excellent. So, you look at the EV industry. You look at the fact that all the governments are on board. I will try to find that document and I will add it in the description area. And when I read it, it's like all these companies, all right, that are starting out, they all have a place in the industry, that's for sure. So, I'm very bullish on NIO, and especially with, a government backing them, the way they stated that they're going to back them. I'm very bullish on NIO. And there's the industry in that area, just imagine that area alone, in the Asian market alone. And then you have European people, that are also purchasing that as well. What negative can you say on it? It's green, it's lean, mean, it's a beautiful machine. Honestly, I'm not trying to rhyme here, but I got nothing that I can say. Naturally, it's a brand new. Oh yeah, people say, well, the financials are absolutely no. It's emerging. It's growing. If we talked about stuff like that, you think that other companies back in the year 2000 that are today worth thousands a share, whatever, didn't have a rough time in the beginning. Of course, everybody in the beginning has a rough time, but it's always about who's leading the ship. What's the management? The management of NIO seems to be on they know what they're doing. they've invested a lot into getting up all the infrastructure up around it, to get the cars out there for customer service and all these other things, so that the people are happy that are driving the car, because they have their swapping stations. They have there's nothing missing. They're diversifying in all that sector. So that's great. Plus, they also know they got the government backing them, which is excellent, because the government said that they're not going to let them fail, right? So, all that being said, you're looking at 2024 to be and of course, this is analysts that are stating it. They're looking at it for 2024. But I mean, if COVID continues and the world gets even hotter tomorrow and all that kind of stuff, maybe people will just be like, and batteries becoming much cheaper. Cobalt's out. You got cattle that's just like lithium nickel. Batteries have longer range. Like, look, 610 kilometers. The vehicles will become, even less expensive. Who knows when it'll really break even? Analysts are saying 2024 is going to be a beautiful year, basically, for NIO. And all shareholders involved are going to have, that year there alone is going to be a gorgeous, beautiful year for NIO. But every year is going to be a beautiful year, because every year you're getting closer to 2024, right? It just says won't see profits within the next 3 years. But that's because in 2024, according to the graph, that's where it's estimated to be profitable. I don't know why it's not written that way, but when I look at the graphs, I see where the lines are. So I know exactly where it's forecasted, but they're just saying within the next 3 years. So, but in that time frame, debt, and then you look at revenue coming up, and then boom, 2024. So that's according to the analysts. Very exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. So I'm very bullish on NIO, and I'm going to put it out there. I absolutely have no shares in NIO at the moment. I'd love to have shares in NIO in the moment, but I don't. I have invested in other companies and actually, I don't even have an EV car market. I was invested in NIO in March, April, when they were like dirt cheap, and I rode that all the way up until $20-something. And of course, I was like, you know what? After doing all the researches, I was like, I think it's going to be there for a while. So I took out the profits, and I ended up diversifying into other corporations and stuff like that. But hopefully those ones goes up, and then I'm going back into, I will end up going back into NIO and other EV vehicles as well, because I see the industry is bullish. The industry is bullish. So unless you have people that really don't know what they're doing at the helm, but then that's the whole trick, right? With this market, with that company, or maybe those, but that one, is that the government won't allow it to fail. That's what they said in March. So March or April, that's what they said. So it's like, what do they mean by that? Will they go to the point whereas if the people that are at the helm wouldn't be doing something right, that they would take action to make sure that everything goes right? It's like, it's a hypothesis, right? I'm trying to figure out how far would they go in order to not, well, they gave them tons of money. So I'm thinking that, they would go and do whatever it takes for this corporation not to fail. Now, that being said, it seems like the people that are at the helm are extremely competent. So how can you go wrong? Anyways, guys, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button. And of course, I'm going to keep on going. I have some requests for green power out of Vancouver. And I know a bit about them. And I'm just doing more research on that. And that'll probably be the next one that's coming out. It's on green power. So with all that being said, the Betweenplays website is up. There's information on there as well. And betweenplays.store. All right. So if you go to www.betweenplays.store, within this month of October, I would probably think like beginning of November, the store will be up and running. And actually, you can get like Betweenplays cups, pens, and all this kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. And eventually, like, you know, polo shirts, t-shirts, and, you know, that's basically it. And very exciting. Thank you so much for following. Please comments. If you have ideas for corporations for me to look at, put that down in the comments, or you always can email me, all right? And I will answer the emails at BTWN, so between, but just took out the E's, so BTWNplays.com. All right, everybody, so do your research, invest wisely, and stay strong. All right,